Savage. Their website is tinshedmn.com to get their
awesome
address and check out their stuff. Really good comfort food place, a lot of TVs, a lot of video games. It's gonna be a blast to hang out there. Looking forward to it. Thanks to all of our other sponsors and everybody who's listened to the podcast. The numbers for this show keep going through the roof, and we do appreciate it. So a couple more Twitter questions from Chris Osley.
Are we the highest rated show on the Talk North radio network?
We have the most. This show has the most listeners. Okay. And so, yes. Chris Osley, do you think GM Fenton would trade Jared Spurgeon if he can't get a long-term deal extension worked out?
I mean, I would. I don't know if he would. When I asked him that question yesterday, he didn't seem like it was a pressing issue. But again, he's not giving me state secrets at all, obviously, on that situation.
Right. From Jer on Twitter, could the Wild sign Nikita Nesterov?
Is there a reason that in that situation? Because I will say a lot of people have been asking me lately. The reason why I'm saying it like this is a lot of people have been asking me lately whether or not they'll bring in Russians to this team as a means of trying to make Kaprizov happy and more comfortable. And I asked Fenton that question as well. And again, he didn't seem like that's something that he's thinking about, that he feels is an overall priority. But yeah, I like Nikita. There's no doubt about it.
Last question. Anthony Creans. I hope I'm getting that right. Is it just me, or is Fenton a bit abrasive with the media? Also, who's the hardest guy you've covered?
The hardest guy I've covered?
Tough to read, short with you, etc. I think it could be anybody in hockey.
Oh, that's what we should talk about, the Brad Marchand thing.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's talk about that real quick. We'll answer that question, then we'll talk about Marchand, then we'll bow out.
Yeah.
Twill and the Edina Galleria, fixologyrepair.com. Tin Shed in Savage. And listen, even if you're not going to a live show, go into Tin Shed if you're down in that area, have a beer, eat, and tell them we sent you. We want to support their place. And also Tony Hoagland, your State Farm agent in Champlin. All right, toughest guy to cover.
Toughest guy to cover. I don't know. Mike Keenan was right up there in terms of anybody has ever covered. Paul's up there. There's no doubt about it. Player-wise, Manny Fernandez was not fun. Yeah, I don't know. Okay. I will say, the Brad Marchand thing was just insane this week, where he just, treated Kyle, the Sportsnet reporter, live on TV, made himself look like a jackass with the short answers.
Yep.
And Kyle handled it well, because even as the most veteran reporter, that's an intimidating thing, even when you're not on camera. I will say, there's two Wild players, current Wild players, that have done that with me, and it's not a fun experience. Even for somebody as experienced as me to have to, kind of play that game with somebody. And one of those players I get along with great and have a good relationship with, but he's done it to me 3 or 4 times, including after the season finale. And it's not a fun, it's an uncomfortable, squeamish situation, and I'm not on camera. Kyle handled that really well. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, just, Google Brad Marchand, and I'm sure it'll pop up. And then, but no, Paul's not a fan of the media. But, look, all I ask is that he's got to understand that I have a job to do, and that there are other people in the market that have a job to do, and as long as I'm getting access like yesterday, I have no problem. I mean,
well, here's my big picture take on this. Every sports team, every sports league begs for media coverage. They know that they need media coverage. They thrive on media coverage, and then they get media coverage that they don't particularly like or that they find annoying, and then all of a sudden it's this big war. Yeah. They're not seeing the big picture. I always say this. If you went to any 18-year-old athlete in America and said, here's the deal. You're going to make millions of dollars. You're going to have millions of fans who love you, and the price you're going to pay for those riches is you're going to have to answer some questions once in a while. Yeah. Who would turn that deal down?
Yeah. Well, I'll say this. This will be a good way to end the show in a final thought. I'm talking to Peter and Demi Annis the other night, who's Sam Annis's parents. And they said something to me that kind of, when I got off the phone with them, I was thinking about this Marchand thing. And actually, let me preface it by telling you the second thought at first, is that all these moron Bruins fans that love Brad Marchand. That's like, he has no obligation to talk to the media.
Actually, I think it's in their contracts.
Yeah. Like,
by the way,
it's
a contractual
he can
obligation.
Do whatever he wants. And I just wanted to be like, and my retort to that is something that Peter Annis and Sam Annis told me, or excuse me, that his mom told me, is that. That they love following me on Twitter because they learn about the Minnesota Wild and blah, 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 blah. But, it's really hard, with Sam being in Iowa and in most American Hockey League teams because there's not a lot of media there. So in other words, you don't really know what's going on with the teams because nothing's written about them. It's not on TV. You can't just pop open and read stories about them, blah, 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 blah. And that's no disrespect to some of the reporters that do great work covering the AHL. But my point is, Bruins fans, if the Boston Globe disappeared, if the Boston Herald disappeared, if Greg Bedard's outfit disappeared, if the Athletic disappeared, if Nesson disappeared, and it was just a bunch of freaking hockey players out on the ice, you know what they'd be? They'd be the American Hockey League. They'd be the USHL. Mm-hmm. They'd be the NAHL. They'd be the CHL. You would not know anything that's going on. They wouldn't get fans. What makes sports fun is the media coverage around it allows you an inside look into what's going on. Now, sure, there are some fans out there that probably hate the media that just love these guys and want to watch hockey and get entertained by it and don't need to know every little single detail about what's going on. But I think the fun of it, and I would assume that everybody listening to this podcast would agree because they're actually taking time out of their day to learn more about the Wild, would agree that it would be an absolute boring existence if all of a sudden you couldn't open up the newspaper and read what's going on and read quotes and see interviews and if that stuff didn't exist. So the fans that sit there and sympathize sometimes with Brad Marchand for looking like a freaking baby on national TV and think it's humorous that he sits there and gives one-word answers to reporters both on the ice live or after the game. Sorry, I'm watching CNN. This 6th grade survivor from this school shooting is just crying on live TV, and it's just tragic just watching him. Boy, this is hard to watch, and it's on mute. I guess that's my only point. These Bruins fans sit there
and it's part of the athlete's job.
Yeah,
it's part of the job. It does, and you know what? Who among us has a job where you never do anything you don't like?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. It really is, and again, not to get back to Paul, but that's what I hope that he understands is that there is a value to us, and he's got to respect it. I mean, he's tried for 15 years to become a GM in the NHL. He's been turned down for 11 or 12 jobs as a GM in the NHL. He's gotten a dream job here, and to waste energy searching for leaks and the most monotonous of stories that are out there, or quarreling with media over in my eyes innocuous stuff as well. It's wasted energy. He's got a huge job ahead of him to try to get this organization back in good standing because next year could be tough, and so to waste his energy worrying about who told Russo about a torn ACL of Mason Shaw or a knee injury of Zach Parise that he reported after we already knew he was out for the year. It's wasted. So, last night, I had a great chat with him for, half hour or so or whatever it was. And that's all you ask, I'm sure he didn't love doing it, but he did, but and it couldn't have been more accommodating to do it. So that's why on this subject, I'm a little sensitive to the fact that people, think that he sounded abrasive. Because honestly, during the interview, even though it might read that way, that's just kind of his personality and the way he speaks. It wasn't a tense back and forth at any point during the interview. At least I didn't feel that way.
Well, since we tried to end the show, we've done about 20 minutes of the podcast.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
Tin Shed.
May
22nd
Savage.
and 29th.
May 22nd and 29th. They're Wednesday nights, 6:15 start. We'll do about an hour, which means we'll be there for about an hour and a half at least. Come on down. You know the deal. We have a great time at these live shows. Come down, support Tin Shed, support the Russo-Souhan Show and TalkNorth.com. We do appreciate it.
Pretty little city built on a hillside. Music in the bars and fire in the sky. We went to the beach and it was covered in ice, and I used to call it home. So much coming out, there's nothing going in. I know that you feel like you're never gonna win. Oh, but the world won't forgive